By Arkansas, for Arkansas. This is Inside Arkansas Live.
And welcome into Inside Arkansas Live here in the great state of Arkansas. John Neighbors alongside Curtis Wilkerson and Andrew Ellis. Normally we're coming to you live in our home studios, but today we're here at Alumni Hall, 3417 North College Avenue here in Fayetteville, getting you ready for Texas weekend, as there is plenty of Texas, anti-Texas, I should say, gear to go around here at Alumni Hall. And we're going to tell you all about it today. We're going to talk some football, talk some basketball, talk pretty much everything heading into the weekend. But, fellas, it's good to be back here. It's a great spot.
Yeah, it is a great spot, man. It's awesome. I see my my Christmas tree is behind me, so I'm looking forward to walking out of here with that thing. But there's something for everyone here. I mean, since we've been in here, we've seen a ton of people in and out getting geared up for the Razorback game tomorrow. We saw a Texas fan who was in here with what looked like maybe an Arkansas fan who was a wife or a spouse or something.
That was weird.
That happened, and even soon to be Razorback sports commits. So you'll see somebody committing to the Razorbacks here in the very near future. And the shirt they're going to be wearing came from Alumni Hall. So
That's
there
right.
you go.
Was it the same Texas fan? Because you remember when we sat over there and we saw when we were sitting here
It was
with
not
A&M,
the
it was not
man
the same
bun.
one.
Not the man bun. No.
Yeah, this looks like a guy that he comes in for the game. He probably they probably live in Texas. He's like, I'll come in, but I'm going to make sure I'm obnoxious and wearing my burnt orange.
On.
Yeah. Gotcha.
As long as I go in there. But yeah, folks, we got again great stuff going on here at Alumni Hall. In fact, for those of you who are listening in, if you want to come by 3417 North College Avenue, we're going to do a little good giveaway where Curtis is actually rocking one of the giveaways. It's a simple horns down shirt, and it comes in red or white. And so we have decided that if you come into Alumni Hall today, all you got to do is go to the counter and just say, hey, Hogs by 90. And they're going to be like, oh, yeah, what do you want? Do you want the horns down shirt? Or for Christmas, for you cracking of nuts people out there, got a Razorback nutcracker for you. So, you'll get to your choice of it. So all you got to do is, again, come into Alumni Hall here in Fayetteville, say Hogs by 90, and you get your choice. And you get to go home with it. As, again, I don't know what's better of, doing something that really hates on Texas or cracking nuts. It's a tough choice between the two.
It's true. John, you asked us before we got started here if people actually use nutcrackers to crack nuts. And we didn't really know the exact answer to that. I bet somebody in the chat does. We'll get
anybody
some
in the
scientific
chat
stuff.
If you've actually used a nutcracker to crack nuts, like for whatever thing you're baking or whatever it is, let us know because we like to use you guys as like a little
barometer
testing pool.
Yeah.
It's like a little survey.
Yeah, well, and it's funny too because we can. This will be something that we talk about closer to Christmas, but I've always wondered, why has nutcrackers just been associated with Christmas? I don't know. It's always been.
Only crack nuts
only
in the last couple months.
It's the only thing you can do. So, but yeah, folks, again, if you want in on the conversation, get in on the chat, of course, and be really nice to us. And you can also call in at 478-344-6623. We're taking your phone calls as Arkansas, again, prepares for Texas tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. sharp on ABC. Game that everybody's been looking forward to and circling. It's the first time that these two teams will meet as conference foes since the old Southwest Conference days. And I don't think anybody's given Arkansas much of the expectation. But as we were kind of talking about, guys, for the show, Bet Saracen, the line has been moving towards Arkansas, which is still, 13.5, 14 points. So it hasn't just tremendously gone Arkansas's way. But some of the money is feeling for the Razorbacks right now that they will cover the spread. I don't know how I feel about it, though.
Yeah, it's back to 13 now. When I woke up this morning and looked, I was putting in some college basketball bets for the day. A little Jake Paul, Mike Tyson action.
Well, you had to get those college basketball bets in early, right? Because there's some the morning games.
There are, man. There's an early slate. It's good stuff. But, it was down to 12.5. The Arkansas line.
That's crazy.
I mean, we're talking about a line that started at like 16.5, way up there. It is quite interesting, but I've been squatting on the tape, guys. I was thinking about it on the way over here.
Okay.
So you know how the last two times we've come to Alumni Hall, the game the next day has not gone well for Arkansas.
It's true.
But I've thought about it. So we came into that A&M game and we sat over there all fat and fuzzy. We were feeling good. We expected good things to happen. We had a good vibe about us. The LSU game, I came in with bad vibes. You guys talked me up. You idiots talked me into being excited and thinking, Arkansas's got a chance. I let the chat get the best of me. But we had like all these positive vibes, and then we're crushed on Saturday. I think the fact that everyone has such downtrodden vibes in this Arkansas fan base right now, us coming in Alumni Hall, I think it's going to flip a little bit. I think it's not one of those you come in Alumni Hall, you lose. I think it's you come into Alumni Hall and it changes things a little bit.
It's true.
There we go.
You know what I mean?
Like
so
that.
it changed it for the worse before, and I think it's going to change it for the better this time.
There you go.
Yeah, I can see that.
Hogs by, a 12.5-point spread.
Plus,
plus 12.5.
Hogs plus 12.5. Change that to the promo code.
Yeah, that would probably be more accurate. But That's the thing is, even with tomorrow and just talking with people and doing this chat and doing our shows and whatnot, nobody's feeling confident. In fact, it's almost like, you guys talked about too, like the hot start that you got to get off to. I think people are going to be like, if Arkansas in the first quarter, if it looks like they're just outmatched and outgunned, people are immediately turning it off and doing on something else. It's not like even they're hopeful that, maybe they can come back. No. I think people are just going to be like, I'm done. I'm moving on. I could see, honestly, and I hate to say this, but I could see tomorrow. I think there'll be a decent crowd. It's Texas. The weather looks pretty nice. But I think that after a quarter and a half, if Arkansas is down by 3 scores, something like that, people are going to head to exits. They're going to be like, nope, not staying around for this crap again. And so that's what's really important about tomorrow morning's start is just more so of, you got to, if your best chance to win a game is get off to a good start, but also just for the fans, because that would be the quickest way to get the energy and everybody just saying, all right, peace out. I'm not going to sit here and deal with this. It's hunting season's coming up. There's other great college football games I'd rather watch.
Got some yard work to do?
Yeah. I got some laundry to fold. Like, it'll just be a lot of other things that people would much rather do. So that's what I'm concerned about is if they just get off to that rocky start, what it's going to look like tomorrow.
Yeah, I am really anxious to see what the crowd looks like. I mean, I imagine it would be a pretty full house for the Texas game, but at the same time, we can only go off of maybe the vibes we felt and what we've seen so far this week, and just looking at I don't know, man, we watch our live numbers while we're doing this, and when we talk football, it's a little bit different than it has been when we've been talking basketball or anything else. When we put out our football content, like our pregame, it's a little bit different than it has been when we've been talking about anything else. So it's strange to me because I thought that no matter what was going on in the season, I think I even said this, at one point during the summer, like Arkansas could have 2-3 wins at this point, but people are going to get up for that Texas game. I'm not so sure.
Nope.
Maybe it's just the segment of the population that rocks with us or whatever. But so far, I'm just not seeing the type of buzz that I thought I would for this.
We're unique. I feel like as an outlet because weirdly enough, I feel like Curtis is very much known for basketball. I'm known for baseball, and John's known for being John Neighbors. So it's like maybe we are just a unique outlet in that standpoint. But I look around and I don't see a ton of football buzz in the air. But it's weird because going off of that, I never thought I'd ever be in a position where I was like, man, I wish more people cared about football. Like, I wish more people were talking about football because most of the time I'm kind of a, hey, let's move on to basketball, let's move on to baseball guy, especially once they get to this point in the season. But I'm kind of surprised by how many fans really just do not care about this football team at all. And, I mean, like you said, it's reflected in the numbers. We are always open, and we say this a lot, that, like, we're down to talk about whatever it is you guys want to talk about. If you guys came in the chat and there were 17 comments about soccer, I guarantee you we would start talking about soccer. Like, we just would. If there were 17 comments about Mike Neighbors' basketball team, we would talk about them as well. That just doesn't happen, so we don't do it. But I've been kind of, like, waiting for the chat to blow up with football all week, and nobody cares. It's just quite interesting. It is what it is.
Man.
Yeah, and I was even talking to Stephanie, the manager here at Alumni Hall, and she was kind of saying the same thing. She's like, even here in this business, which they're booming, still a lot of people coming in, but just compared to what the expectation was leading into the Texas football game, it's just it's what do you call it? Apathy? What do you call it? Just people giving up, whatever it is. I don't know. I don't want to look too deep into it, but guys, I just have this fear that after the last year with football, basketball, baseball, it killed a lot of Razorback fans where they don't hold out for hope very long. Like this year, because this is not a terrible football season. It's really not. It's not last year. It's not what it was under Brett Bielema or anything like that. His first year of his last year, like it's not that bad. It's but it feels like just because of how the fans feel that it is one of the worst seasons ever. Which it's just you look at the record, like wait, hold on a second. This team's 5-4. They're 3-3 in SEC play with 2 SEC games to go, or I guess. Am I tripping, right? 3 SEC games.
2 SEC games. Sorry. 2 SEC games, 3 games.
Throwing me off. But still, it's like you still have a chance to do something. I mean, you could go 4-4. You could. I'm not saying you will, but you could. And you could go 7-5, which I think everyone would have signed up for before the year started. Like, hey, team goes 7-5, 4-4 in conference. And I was like, absolutely, sign me up for that. But it doesn't feel like that's the way it's right now.
7-5 with a win over Texas. I feel like literally the entire fan base would have been like, sure. And like it's on the table. Now, do we think it's going to happen? That's not necessarily, but it's like it's on the table. Absolutely.
Well, maybe that would flip the switch, but it has a feeling of staleness, I think. And so, like Pooh Bear here, he says once Trey Biddy said Pittman is coming back, it's a wrap. The fan base checked out. Well, I mean, the Athletic said it. On3 said it. Brandon Marcello said it. Like everybody's been saying it for a couple of weeks now. But I wonder if that plays into it all, where people thought, I don't know, like after that Ole Miss result or something, like, oh, that's probably going to do it. Like there's going to be a change here. And now they're just, because we talked about the importance of excitement. And it's not always about just, like winning games or having a decent season. It's about, seeing the light at the end of the tunnel and the brightness of the future and everything like that. Maybe that has something to do with it. And then, like we've got Casey in here says, why would we want to talk about Razorback football when we know they're going to let us down? So maybe people are feeling that too. It's like every time they've gotten up or gotten excited after, a Tennessee game, or boy, maybe they turned the corner at Mississippi State, and then there's just been a kind of a big letdown right after that. So people are like, are Razorback fans managing expectations?
It does seem like
is that what's going on?
Maybe reverse jinxing a little bit. But I would say this to the fan base. I would urge you guys, do not underestimate your power. Like, you think that, like, Sam Pittman is just going to be safe as the head coach no matter what, no matter if you guys are supporting or not? No, I mean, your support is a very big reason why people in power are, empowered to do whatever they're going to do. I mean, literally, we've seen Greg Schiano get hired at Tennessee, and then they cave to the public perception. You think if you guys' voice gets loud enough that, like, Hunter Yurchek is going to be like, I know every single person in the fan base wants to fire him, but we're going to keep him. Like, it's not really how these things typically work. And also, you still got to watch how this story plays out.
Yes.
Because, we've been talking about it all year, like, kind of will he stay, will he go? That depends a lot on these final 3 games. And so let's see what happens, and then we can kind of reevaluate where we're at. But I don't think you guys should check out just because a reporter's like, oh yeah, this thing, it's trending this direction. Oh yeah, he's going to be the head coach forever. Like it doesn't typically work that way.
Nothing is ever set in stone in this business. We know that for sure. Let me ask you guys this though: how excited are you to watch this game tomorrow?
I'm mildly excited just because. Just how I am for every game like this of this magnitude, the small chance that with Tennessee, for instance, earlier this year, I don't think I didn't feel as unconfident, or I didn't lack as much confidence in that game that I do this game, because still Arkansas was up in the air. We kind of know what they are at this point. But I'm mildly excited just to be like, okay, well, maybe, just maybe, they pull off something. Maybe, just maybe, they actually put it together. But as I said before, the second that they get down early, that excitement's out the window and I'm done.
Yeah,
that's my level.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
I'm mildly, like, not excited, but like I'm looking forward to it for sure. As with anything, the only lens I look at it through is the most selfish lens through my point of view. I actually am pleased with the fact that it's an 11 a.m. game. There's a lot of good sporting events going on, and so I'm looking forward to whatever's going to happen in the Arkansas football game. It's going to happen. We'll have a tremendous post-game show, and then it'll be 3:30, and it'll be time to do whatever. Like, I actually, this is one of those, like, all year we've complained about this being 11 a.m., but now that it's here, I'm like, you know what?
I'll allow it.
I'll allow it too. I mean, if that Ole Miss game, aren't you glad that happened at 11 a.m. and we were able to kind of move on with our days a little bit?
Good Lord, yeah.
Yeah. No, I would be all for it. But, you go back to the point that you guys are bringing up about, Yurchek, if he came out and said, or if he's putting it out there, whoever is, about, it's leaning towards keeping Pittman. Just remember, guys, I know it was a different circumstance, but Jeff Long also wanted to keep Brett Bielema. And what happened there? They made changes. Yeah, they made changes. And I think that there was probably more that went into it than just, keeping Bielema. But I'm not saying that will happen. But, man, if you start going against the fan base like that, and what the massive general consensus is of the fan base, and even some of the boosters, which the boosters can't be happy. They can't. Like, that's the quickest way for you to get packing and get out of town.
Yeah.
So, they could say about this leaning towards this, that, and the other, but until it actually happens, and especially if this ends where Arkansas goes 6-6 and loses, gets smoked at home to Texas and loses once again to Missouri, then if Yurchek's coming out, it's like, I think Sam Pittman's 100% the man for the job, and he's going to get it done. And be like, okay, sir, you have to leave.
Yeah.
We're asking you to pack up your bags and go, because that ain't going to be it.
Yeah, I'm sticking to the trending in the direction of he'll be back, but jury is still out until it's not. Listen, Aiden says drinking before 11 a.m. kickoff just feels like a chore now. I think it's perspective, man. Like, I would treat that as an opportunity to do something cool.
Yeah.
I think that's okay.
And here's the thing. You don't have to be drunk at 11 a.m. Like, you can drink throughout the game, and then when the game ends, you can really get drunk. You could either be a celebratory drink. You don't have to be hammered drunk. It's a marathon these days,
Yeah.
Well, we gave him a little bit of time to get lathered up.
Lathered up, yeah. I always thought it was liquored up. Lathered up sounds a little bit more intimate in that way. But I know, again, I think the fans are going to show up. I don't know if it's going to be 76,000 or whatever, but I think the fans will show up, and they are going to sit there for 10, 15 minutes and decide whether or not they want to stay. And then if they don't, they won't. And if they do, it'll be looking like empty seats. It's going to be looking like Bud Walton out there here in the first couple of games. A lot of spaces out there in the seats. That's what it's going to be looking like. So,
Whoa.
yeah, I know people are going to be coming up with it, but hey, it was a perfect little thing. Yeah, shout out to Chef Boy Arlie. We were at Leroy last night, and he says, "Was cool meeting you guys last night. Sorry I couldn't stay for another drink, John. I will take you up on my tailgate tomorrow if the offer still stands." Shout out to Alumni Hall, horns down. Yeah, it's good meeting you, Chef Boy Arlie.
Chef Boy Arlie had very good vibes.
He did.
He came. Yeah. He handled it as flawlessly. Like, because you interact with people from the internet a lot, and it can go one of a billion different ways. Chef Boy Arlie was about as well as an interaction could have possibly gone with a random man from the internet.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, really could not. He gave us the full rundown of how his name is Chef Boy Arlie. He actually was a chef back in the day when he was a pledge. And AR, his last name's Lee, 94. You know all that.
All comes together. Yeah.
It's, good vibes, high character guy. Yeah, it's a solid
first guy in,
right there.
last guy out, that kind of
right.
mentality. Yeah.
You know what else I liked? I'm not trying to get too much into the man's business here, but he was sitting on the same side of the table as his lady friend, wife, I believe he said.
Yeah.
And that's women appreciate that.
It's very recently become his wife, right?
I think so. Yeah, and so I think he's got a pretty good pulse on how to treat people.
Well, and also
so
like we were in the corner, they had to both be eyes on the stream.
Yeah.
I'm sure she was dying to watch that.
Yeah. We actually had a really good turnout at the Leroy last night and got to meet a lot of you, quite a few of you.
Very cool. Shout out Whitty.
Yeah, Whitty F was in there.
With the mullet child.
Yes, that's right.
Kid's awesome.
Yeah, I'm like, at first I was like, no, that's not a costume or wig. No, it's straight up like Joe Dirt as a kid, man, just with the mullet out there. It looked great. So shout out to him. But yeah, I had quite a few people show up, quite a few people watching us. Everything. It was really cool to meet you guys out in public, out in the wild.
That was the most attendance we've had from like people from our chat coming.
Yeah,
right?
it was really cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. Again, folks, if you want to in the conversation, get to the chat, so you can call in 478-344-6623. Bias Brim comes and says, "Yep, I'm not getting my hopes up. I'm just going to support my team."
See, like, this is a very healthy and normal way to view it. You rarely see that these days. It's either like, I've got to expect them to whip Texas's ass, or I've got to expect it to go completely horribly. It's just not going to get my hopes up, but I'm here to support the Hogs. Like, that's the correct lens to view this through.
I think Unbiased Brim has some pretty good perspective, pretty good approach to some of this. I'm also going to be in the DMs later today because I know he's a big boxing.
Oh, yeah.
And he's been talking about a little.
He
Paul
did
Tyson
ask about if we were going to be watching Paul Tyson, which like we are going to be one of a lot of people that are watching that. I cannot believe how many people have been like, dude, Tyson's going to smoke him. Like, it's obvious he's going to smoke him.
He got his lick in last night.
Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's going to be great. It's on Netflix, right?
It is on Netflix.
Yep.
Look, to my knowledge, there's nothing extra. It's just streaming on Netflix.
Yeah.
I hope it's not any more complicated than that.
Is this more first like sporting event type of thing like that they've done?
So I think there was some type of like tennis or something that they did on Netflix, but it's the first major sporting event for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely
Isn't this
the first.
like an audition for maybe getting UFC? Or is that still a thing?
So the UFC's TV deal with ESPN is up. I don't know if it's the end of 2025 or maybe like midway through, but I think Netflix is in the running for that. So I think that would be awesome. I think they're also eventually going to do. Yeah, everybody's going to hate this. They're going to do Jake versus Logan Paul on Netflix eventually.
Gosh. Yeah, it's going to be brother versus brother.
Yeah, I don't know how to feel about that.
Jake Paul is going to be the highest paid boxer in the world.
Jeez.
The only brother on brother crime I want to see is Zvonimir on the other Avicic.
Yeah, which you will on Thanksgiving.
Yes, that's right.
Hey, but the other Avicic balled out the other night,
I didn't realize he was older, and he's also very good. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I want to get to this. I was talking to Curtis about this too, and I'm sure you guys saw it.
Okay, I did see this.
Yeah. So Floyd comes in and says, "Have you guys talked about Texas's travel schedule? It may not be true that they are flying in early tomorrow, but regardless, what are y'all's thoughts?"
There's no way.
We saw these
0%
tweets.
chance,
Yeah, I saw these tweets, and I'm like, no, there's no chance. No chance. And if so, then Steve Sarkisian is as ugly as he is stupid, because that is the dumbest thing that makes no sense. Of just like, we're going to casually roll in out of at a Drake Field or X&A or whatever at 8 a.m., bus straight to the stadium, go through warm-ups, and beat Arkansas. There's just no way.
It's not even about being disrespectful so much as what happens if you wake up in the morning and get to the airport and there's like weather or a mechanical issue on the plane? Or like, there's no way they're doing that day of. No way.
It'd be hilarious if they were, though.
It would be.
It'd be really funny.
Well, like
they
they
had to
always
forfeit 'cause
they
they couldn't
always
make
stay
it.
in a hotel. Even the Arkansas Razorbacks will be staying in a hotel together. It's like teams don't really like to do that. Like day before the game, not be able to monitor your whole team.
Yeah,
Right.
There's so many things that could happen. Delays. I mean, there could be a fight on the plane between the dogs, like with Auburn. You know.
Yeah,
Could-
exactly. You can't take anything for granted nowadays, man.
Yeah. So here's the thing: if Texas gets on a fight on the plane, Arkansas is losing by 80. Apparently, that's the way it goes. Getting fights on airplanes, you're going to win the next game. So that's the way it need to be. But no, going back to it, there's no way. I don't think it's true. Maybe there's certain staffers that are coming in that early. Maybe some GAs. I don't know. But as far as the actual players, team, coaches, 0% chance. Let's see.
This is great right here. Hang on, where'd it go?
Tyson going to chin check Rooster Boy. Jeez, man.
The one that I inadvertently clicked on is funny too.
Yeah.
I might do that.
Just everybody that walks by should be like, "Sir, do you want Sam Pittman to return?" Just start pulling the
pull
audience out
everybody.
there.
Did y'all know Kopeski has haters?
I'm sure he does.
He's got haters in the chat.
Really?
He's been on his best behavior lately, though. I feel like he's been.
Yeah, I could see that. Sometimes he gets a little, off the rails, kind of like.
Yeah,
we
does that.
made fun of him for something the other day, and someone commented and was like, "Oh, love to see that. Love to see Kopeski." And I was like, "Oh, wow."
Yeah, no, that's the thing is we don't have haters in our chat. Nobody hates on anybody. It's always really nice.
They all love us.
That's right.
I have more banter with some than I do others, but there's really not a single chatter at this point. I don't think where I'm like, this dude.
No,
Yeah,
I think it's just Pooh Bear.
Yeah.
It's literally just Pooh Bear.
No, either that.
I recognize Pooh Bear's troll at least.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I was looking for him the other day after Brazil got in the starting lineup, and I couldn't find him. But it's,
Well, it's the same thing with I forgot the guy's name, but the guy that was just spam chatting like after the Tennessee game, just saying the same thing over and over again. Whoever that was.
The guy that was like mad at you for not giving Pittman his props or whatever.
Yeah.
that was tough.
Yeah, he's like, you owe me an apology. It's like, I don't owe you jack. Heartbroken Hawk says, I think we'll make this close. Everyone plays hard, and we don't see any quit like we did against Ole Miss. Force a couple turnovers, probably tied or very close, headed into the fourth, then we choke. I also, too, could see that happening.
I'm close to this. Like, I don't know if necessarily, like, not exactly. Like, I've been saying kind of like 10, 11-point loss all week. I'm pretty closely in line with that, where, like, I think they're going to fight hard. I think they're going to keep it scrappy, but ultimately they will not get the job done.
Can I ask you this? I'm not like going against your point. Just a serious question. What makes you feel like they're going to play hard?
Simply because, one, you're coming off a bye week, so it's like they've had a little bit of a time, which we've seen can go one way or the other. It could either be the time when they all fold in, but I feel like Arkansas should be pretty refreshed. I think they should be very motivated for this game, which again is something that can get taken away from you really quickly. But I at least think to start the game, Arkansas is going to be dialed in, like excited to play. A lot of Texas kids on the roster, like that means something. So I think they're going to like go into it with like a positive mindset. Now, again, if you fall behind 7-0 immediately and then you go 3 and out, that all goes out the window. But I at least think like early on they're going to be kind of scratching and clawing and hyped. And Texas, I feel like also is very good and very capable of just like putting it away right away. But I think Texas might not come out super dialed in. I think they might overlook this game a little bit, as they probably should. And so I think they're almost going to give Arkansas a chance to stay in the game. But when it's time to win the game, I think Texas is going to do that.
I think Texas is just a superior football team. They're going to kick Arkansas's ass.
See, that's where
I
I'm at.
think is going to happen.
That's where I'm at.
It's very hard to craft a counter to that.
Yeah. Well, see, mine is even like I just got two options. It's either Arkansas is going to win, or Arkansas is going to get blown out. There's not. I don't even think Arkansas keeps it close and still loses. I don't even think that's the case. I think that it's just one of those two options with about a 10-15% chance of the win happening. But I have a feeling that this game is just going to get, I don't know, to the level of the Ole Miss, but could be flirting with it. Where they're like we have Arch Manning late in the third quarter throwing bombs, going 4 verts. I could see it because these teams are one style points, man. They want to make sure that they leave no doubt, especially in the eyes of the committee and eyes of the college football playoffs and everything. So they're going to be motivated to go in there and kick the crap out of Arkansas, and I fear that's what's going to happen. But going back to the point about playing hard. That's something I don't know if you guys felt the same way I did. But when Pittman came out, I was like, I just don't feel like we played very hard against Ole Miss or whatever. That was just really irked me. Like, how? Like, what does that mean? You don't think? Why didn't you? It's a football game.
The problem is they accept it.
Yeah.
And that sucks.
That's what bothers me.
That's a problem. That is a major problem.
And it comes back to another thing with Sam Pittman where, and I've said this before, he has no idea what to expect from his football team on a given play, quarter, game, like just week. Because there's how many times has he gone and said, well, we played horribly and we didn't show up and we didn't compete, but we had a great week of practice. Where like he's kind of said publicly that he doesn't really know sometimes what to expect from his team. And I think he's been pleasantly surprised sometimes by their effort when they played hard. And so it's one of those things where I don't think he has his finger really on the pulse of kind of what's going on with his team's mentality. So again, I'm not saying, whether or not they play hard tomorrow, we'll see, but I don't think he has any idea. I think it's just one of those, he's just waking up and hoping that they do. And They might, they really might, but it's just, I don't think that there are specific plans in place to ensure that his team is heavily motivated.
Right. I mean, I'm seeing everybody doing the, Texas hasn't played anybody thing. Is Arkansas somebody?
That's the thing.
That's where I'm at with it. It's they're about a 500 football team, and Texas has beat plenty of those so far this year. I think Arkansas might challenge them, at the quarterback position a little bit differently if Taylor Green is healthy than some other teams have. But it's perspective for me, man.
I mean, is Arkansas better than Vanderbilt? Let's just say that. Is Arkansas better than Vanderbilt?
No.
I can't definitively say that.
Definitely not definitively. And I think Vanderbilt is probably like, if you're trying to craft kind of the case that I'm making, that I think Arkansas is going to kind of compete and play close. I think that's the kind of vibe you're aiming for. But again, I don't know if, I think Texas clearly underachieved that day. For Arkansas to win this game, it's certainly, without a doubt, going to need a little bit of help from Texas not playing up to their standard. Because that's the thing. When you play a team as talented as Texas, and frankly a team as well coached as Texas, you're at their mercy to an extent. Like if Georgia is super motivated and they're ready to play, they're going to whip your ass. Like it really doesn't matter. And Texas found that out. If Texas plays their A game, Arkansas cannot keep up with that. Like I think that's a fact.
Yeah. So I think it's going to go a lot of different ways. But I'm just, I don't know. I'm torn between this being a blowout or this being more of a blowout. Like an embarrassment or a blowout is what I feel like the two options are more so than anything. You're either going to get blown out by 21 points or you're going to get embarrassed by 40 points.
I think maybe that's part of the frustration that some people have with the team and the program right now is like you can't put your finger on what to expect with them. Just from week to week, you never know. Because, there absolutely is a world where everything you said, Andrew, is 100% true, where they come out and play to their capabilities and they're fired up, they're flying around defensively, and they compete in this game and they make this a really interesting and fun watch. Or it could be like we saw against Ole Miss, and it's just been such a roller coaster all year. And I wonder how people would feel. I mean, there's obviously going to be a certain level of excitement. I mean, if you go beat Texas, but then how are people going to feel the rest of the year? Because you just don't know. Like, they could easily come out and just lay an egg and pull a UAB, against Louisiana Tech, and that's ugly, and then they go lose at Missouri or something. Nothing would really surprise me with this group, and when I don't know what to expect, I don't know how to feel.
What's the best position to be in as a fan is whenever your team's playing well and you get that feeling of people don't want to play you, then you're on Twitter being like, hey, you don't want to run into the Hogs. Like, you kind of know your team is peaking at the right time, and we've been there plenty of times in different sports as an Arkansas fan. I would even go back to 2014 when Arkansas finished that year with Brett Bielema. By the end of the year, Arkansas had that kind of aura about them where it's like, hey, they're peaking at the right time. You don't want to play them. Like, Hog fans were very confident and proud of their team. And I just don't think Hog fans, even the most optimistic ones, can hop on Twitter and be like, hey, we're gonna show up this weekend because we have a team that we know is going to show up. Like, hey, if we watch out for us. Like, I don't even think they have the confidence to do that. And that's the worst part to be in as a fan, where it's like you want to be confident, you want to be excited, but you ultimately don't know if your team is going to show up and back you up.
Yeah, you really don't. Folks, again, we're here at Alumni Hall here in Fayetteville. If you want to come in, 3417 North College Avenue, just say Hogs by 90 to the counter. You get you a nutcracker for Arkansas, which I love it. And if you're a nutcracker yourself, you can actually use one that's a Razorback this time.
By the way, Eric Going Global said that he did used to crack nuts for
there you go.
brownies that his mom would make.
So there we go. We have at least one nutcracker in our chat, at least officially. And but you can either get this or you get the sweet horns down shirt that Curtis is wearing too. Your choice, dealer's choice on that. But a few chats and also some phone calls here. But shout out to Timothy Longford Super Chat. We appreciate you, Timothy. Always good to hear from you. Says, hey guys, I hope this game doesn't get ugly. Tired of seeing blowouts at the end of the year. Whooping Suey, let's take Texas out. Yeah.
Yeah. I 100% agree with that, man. That I think that's another scary thing for folks who just remember what's happened the last couple of years, especially last year down the stretch, man. And nobody wants to see that or go through that again. And the warning signs were there against Ole Miss. So maybe the vibes could change a little bit if they go out there and play a 4-quarter football game, against a team like Texas tomorrow.
This weekend could do a lot to dispel the narrative that Arkansas's defense falls apart down the stretch, and Arkansas, they start quitting, they start letting go of the rope, because they clearly did that last year, no doubt about that. Now, look, this year is not last year. There's a lot of differences, but you've got to go out there and show that you are different. And at different times this year, Arkansas has done just that. I mean, the Tennessee game is an example that it's okay, this is not last year's team, but you've got to go out there and show that you're not that same program. You're not that same team that's just going to crumble when met with any adversity. And everything we're saying right now, it's right in front of Arkansas. They can go shut us up real quick. You know what I mean? They can change our tune real quick, and we're almost daring them to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Shout out to Kingsley also, because Kingsley says, job well done this week, guys. Y'all kept the vibes high, and I'm heading home. Y'all rock my stuff. So good job, Kingsley. Appreciate the thoughts, and glad to hear that. I know that you went through some stuff this week, but glad to know that you're on your way home and going to be back in your own bed once again. That was rough. Also,
that is good to hear for sure.
Yeah, Kingsley says that's the thing about the staff, Kopesky. This team believes in them. It's us that doesn't believe in them. So, because he was talking about, I guess you should have had Kopesky's comment first. He says, if the players don't believe in coaching, how the hell do they believe they can win? Which is, a fair point, fair question.
Yeah, and I don't think that was ever maybe even in question until recently. I know the offense is picking up what Bobby's putting down. Whether they execute or not is another story. But, I mean, I think it's fair to wonder where exactly that's at right now on the defensive side of the ball after the second half against Ole Miss.
Well, and to be clear, all year long, that really wasn't something that was in question. I remember during the Tennessee game being like, dude, they play so hard for Travis Williams. It's crazy. Yeah. Even in some of the games, even the LSU game, where they ended up giving up 34 points by the end of it through kind of no fault of their own. I felt like that defense was still playing really hard for Travis Williams. That Ole Miss game did kind of come out of nowhere, and that was the real big red flag for me.
Yep. Yeah. Also, before we go to the phone lines, shout out to JB. Says, getting my daily Inside Arkansas fix. If you guys ever stop putting out awesome content, I'm going to go through some serious withdrawals. I wait for your videos like a dog waits for me to come home. Shout out, JP. Yeah, we appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.
We don't plan on stopping anytime soon.
No. The Inside Arkansas train will continue to keep them moving. So, yeah, don't have to worry about that. Let's go to the phone lines. I believe this is Turner who is on the phone lines calling in. What's up, Turner?
Hey, what's up, you guys? It's first time on the show. Just had a couple points I wanted to make, because this is in my opinion, the game that's been marked on the calendar the most for me, because best football game I've ever been to is I won in 2021, the game against Texas. And I've seen what happens when a team in orange comes into Fayetteville. Apparently it happened again this year with Tennessee, so I'm hoping that trend continues. But my point is I look at the schedule. I look at Texas's schedule. I would tell you on Tuesday or Wednesday, I didn't look at the schedule, how easy their schedule has truly been. And then I went back and looked at every game, and I thought to myself, you can't convince me that we're not the second hardest game of the season so far for Texas, right? You can make an argument for Vanderbilt or Michigan, but, again, maybe I'm an optimistic Hogs fan. I don't think we lose to Michigan, even in Ann Arbor. Michigan's not as good of a team, in my opinion, right now. They don't have the quality wins that we have. Same thing. I mean, you could argue Vanderbilt has a pretty quality win with Alabama, but so I looked at the schedule and thought, man, this is the second hardest game they played all year, and the first hardest game they played, they got their ass beat at home. And so it's just, I have a little bit more optimism today than I did a few days ago. I also think a win against Texas, you put yourself on pace for another 8-win season, maybe even 9, if you can beat Texas, and who knows how you play against Missouri. But I think that would totally shift the perspective of this season. I just wanted to see what you guys thought about that.
Well, in terms of
appreciate the phone call, man.
In terms of where Arkansas ranks in terms of Texas's opponents, a lot of that is going to depend on what version of this Arkansas team that shows up. Because a lot of those things that you say about Texas, you could have said about Ole Miss going into that game, where you look at it and you're like, have they really been tested? Their hardest test, they failed. Then Ole Miss played their best game of the year, and Arkansas played their worst game of the year. And so, look, I get that perspective is certainly not invalid at all. And I think if Arkansas plays close in this game, we'll look back and be like, I guess Texas really hadn't been tested. But I don't think you can rule out the fact that this Texas team might have gone through their lumps and might be peaking, whereas Arkansas doesn't seem to be trending in a positive direction, at least based on their last outing, which is definitively not the right direction. And so, look, do I think Arkansas is capable of kind of offering Texas that challenge that they might not necessarily have had? Because in some of those games, I mean, like the Oklahoma game, that it was a lopsided score, but Texas wasn't necessarily firing on all cylinders there. Mississippi State, I thought they were pretty average in that game as well. Like if that version of Texas shows up and a best version of Arkansas shows up, absolutely, I can get behind that. But we're assuming that Arkansas is going to show up to play, which just in recent history just shows us that is not necessarily a guarantee.
Yeah, and Texas has also had their share of injuries. Quinn Ewers missed several weeks there, and so you gotta keep that stuff into account too. And yeah, teams get better throughout the course of the year. And as I look at this, they played a lot of mid and they kicked a lot of mid's ass throughout the course of the season. Vanderbilt, close game there, but if we're going to say, it was 34-3 against Oklahoma, maybe they weren't firing all cylinders. Well, it was a 3-point game against Vanderbilt, but it really wasn't that close until a very late score and onside kick thing. So, whatever.
Looked up on Florida pretty good, too.
At the end of the day, for me, it's is Arkansas about that life on Saturday?
Right.
They could be, and then it could very, very much not be. Yeah, so I think anybody who looks at that, like you said, and says, Arkansas might be one of the biggest challenges they faced so far this year. That could absolutely be true, and it could also be a laugher. That's just kind of where we're at with this team. It's a little bit bipolar.
Well, I also want to throw in, too, it goes back to the point that, you can make the argument for weak schedule, whatever it is. But here's the deal. If Texas loses this game to Arkansas, and this is, I think, what Steve Sarkisian was really hammering home to his team. If you lose to Arkansas, your chances of getting into the college football playoff are on basically life support. Because you got Texas A&M at the end of the year in College Station, which I don't care what anybody says. Like that, Texas A&M wants that one, and they are going to. So if you at least beat Arkansas, and then you're going to more than likely beat Kentucky. I think that's who they play next. Then suddenly, even if you lose to A&M, you're still in the conversation.
Yeah.
But if you lose to Arkansas, you're basically having to. You don't control your own destiny anymore. You're going to have to hope also other teams, other 2-loss teams, even if you beat Texas A&M, those other 2-loss teams fall somewhere. So that's another thing where you can talk about their schedule, talk about they're going to be ready for you. They're not going to just, we're going through this because we got it in the bag. No, they know what's at stake. If they want to go to the playoff, if they want to have a chance at a national championship, they have to beat Arkansas. Plain and simple.
You remember when they expanded the playoff and everybody was going to say it's going to ruin the regular season because none of these games are going to have meaning? Look around the country and look at literally every single top 25 game, and you're like, oh, there's playoff implications.
Yep.
Texas can't lose that game because now they got that A&M, all these same things that we're talking about. I agree. You just look around the country and see how many top teams are dropping games left and right here. I think Texas got to be looking at that, and they're like, man, we got to take the layups when they're here. We got to beat Arkansas. We got to beat Kentucky, and then we can kind of, like you said, control your own destiny a little bit. There's a lot of stakes in pretty much all these games that feature a top 25 team these days.
Let's go back to the phone lines. We got, I believe it's Unbiased Brim calling in. What's up, Unbiased?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. How art thou?
We're doing great.
Awesome, man.
As of right now, we're doing okay.
That's right.
Yeah, I know, right? We're trying to get pumped up, right? Pump it up because it is Texas. I mean, I understand that most of the fan base is, 40 and younger and that doesn't have the same energy as a fellow like myself and anybody else that's older when it comes to Texas. Because Texas was a true rival until we went into the SEC, and then at that point, I don't think we really have any true rival. But I want to be excited for the game. In some ways, I feel like I'm a bad fan, because I'm not talking no junk. I'm not, hyped up. I'm muted to a large degree. And one of our fellow fans at Poston said, we're not showing up and showing out. We kind of looking real weak right now. And I'm like, you know what? I'm kind of guilty of that. But at the same token, I want to see TG with his head up, not his head down. You know what I mean? If they don't give up, I won't give up. So that's my words for the team. Don't I watch Ole Miss, I saw give up. So I don't want to give up on y'all, so don't give up on yourselves where I have to feel like I'm forced to give up. So bring the pain, you know what I mean? That's how I'm looking at it. And there's some good signs for us when we look at the Texas historically, because we've covered the spread when it comes to playing Texas. I think 6 of the last 7 times. A couple other things what's crazy is that Arkansas over the last 2 years actually has the best cover of spread almost in all of FBS, which is kind of crazy in regards to higher ranked teams. And so there is some glimmers of hope, you know. I don't know, man. I want TG to go do well, but I'm really adamant on it. If he's not like 90%, 100%, why not start Malachi? But, you know, they make the decisions based on what they feel is best, and all I can do is support and hope for the best. But I don't know, guys. We can't get blown out in this game. We can't. They gotta make it a competitive, hard-fought game. They gotta show fight. They got to.
Yeah, I feel you on that, man. I feel you on a lot of the things you said there, honestly. And that's another big part of why I really don't – I'm having a hard time putting a pulse on how I think this is going to go, because we're not going to know what version of Taylor Green we're going to have until he's out there, in terms of whether or not he's going to be able to run, use his legs or not. That's such a huge factor in this. But something you said that I thought was really interesting was you kind of feel like a bad fan, because you're trying, and then we just heard the mental gymnastics with you the entire time you're going. Here do this. There'd be nothing better than Arkansas to be the team that could do all the Texas is not back narratives after this game. But then the more you go, you start thinking about all these other things, like, but I did see some give up out there. I don't know if Talon's healthy, and you never. And that's just kind of where we're at right now. I think that call like perfectly encapsulated the way a lot of folks feel about this program right now. Because I get that too. Like, even as we were talking the first 20 minutes of the show or something, I started feeling it in my gut. I was like, man, I feel like I'm being kind of negative. Like, I'm not trying to be that way.
Yeah, but it feels that way.
And then I try to bring it back up, and then I get right back down. It's just it's a roller coaster, man. It really is.
In terms of like the being a bad fan or not, like I think there's a lot of fans who kind of force themselves to be overly positive because they think that's the right way to go about it. And look, maybe it is. I don't know if there's a right or wrong way to be a fan, but I would just say, like, I don't think there's anything wrong with adjusting your expectations and adjusting how you feel based on what you see. Early in the year, you have a ton of confidence. Hey, this team might go 8-4. This team might go 9-3. You see them lose to Oklahoma State. Okay, maybe there's a little bit of something going on here. Then they beat Tennessee. You get up. Like, it's okay to live that way.
Yeah.
Like, it really is. Like, that's actually what we're supposed to do as fans, I feel like, is live with the up and down. And I think that I think Brim definitely highlights, like, how a lot of the fan base feels in terms of just not knowing what to expect and not wanting to get your hopes up because you've been burned. And I think that's natural. I think that's normal. But I don't think it should take away. I think there's so many people that do this thing where they get on a take, and then it's like no matter what. Like, for instance, our boy Pooh Bear, who's like so dead set on this take, where if Taylon Green goes out there and plays well and beats Texas, he can't even celebrate it because he's put all his chips in this Malachi Singleton. And where it's like, I think there's a lot of fans who do the opposite, where they're like, oh, this team's going to suck. This team's going to suck. And then if the team wins, you can't even really celebrate it.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a balance where you kind of just got to, like Brim said at the very beginning in the chat, where he was like, don't want to get my hopes up, but I'm just here to support my team. I think that's probably the most healthy and correct way to approach it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it at least is the healthiest way. Again, folks, we're here at Alumni Hall. Come by and get a little Hogs by 90 to the counter up there, and you'll get you one of these awesome horns down shirts, as well as a chance to win the Nutcracker. Or if you choose to use the Nutcracker, because there are Nutcrackers out there, apparently, getting ready for Christmas. But before we go back to the chat, because I know there's a few things, I wanted to play this because I asked this, there's been a lot of great horns down in Razorback history that has been done. But I want to play my favorite one because it's actually a video. Not many of them. Most of them are just pictures. This one's a video.
This is a classic.
Of the great Nolan Richardson. And this is just for context, folks. This was in 1995 when Arkansas just won the NCAA tournament game against Syracuse, I believe. And the game was actually in Austin. And they were asking him, what was it like to be back down there in Texas? Well, Nolan Richardson said it best.
When it comes to Texas, let's face it, I thought we dominated this league down here. And hell, when you win as many games as we won over Texas, I expect for them to boo us, yell at us, and do all the things they need to. And to me, that's nice. I get a big kick out of it. And I didn't like the game, but I'm glad I was able to walk off the floor again and deep inside and have that funny feeling that, hey, one more time, Horns. I like that.
That was iconic. I wish more coaches would do that, because I remember when Arkansas beat Texas in 2021. So I think it was like Ty Richardson. Somebody asked him, like, Coach, did you ever feel the need to do the horns down? And he's like, no, I'm just happy for the kids, or whatever he said. But the point is like, That needs to be embraced more. I like coaches that, and Nolan was just sitting there. He didn't even play Texas. He's like, yeah, he's like, hey, one more
Just
time.
played an orange team in Austin. And he's
Yeah.
like, this feels great.
Yeah.
Coach Cal's already embraced it.
That's
You know,
right. He's
it's
got
in
the
damn
plays.
playbook.
Yeah. Just doing horns down. But, Houston Nutt did the horns down. Baseball's done a lot of horns down. I remember, Jalen Battles did it. And, of course, I remember Heston Kjerstad just shoving the first baseman off the bag when he was running in there in the College World Series. Yeah. So, even though it's football, there's still some great iconic moments with Texas. Did Arkansas ever play Texas under Muss? I don't think they did. Right?
An
Basketball?
exhibition game they did.
Yeah,
That's
it didn't
right.
go well for him.
That's
But
true.
other than that, no, I don't
Yeah,
think
because I feel like if Arkansas would have beaten Texas in a real game, I bet you anything Muss would have definitely done the horns down to the crowd.
I can see. He probably did it anyway, honestly. He was not a happy camper after that game.
That
So
was the game that he was chewing out somebody because they were yelling at
They made Danielle cry.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh, jeez.
He
Well,
I'm talking about 12 seconds before the press conference, he's sitting he's outside the room and we can hear him dog cussing somebody. It's BS. My wife's out there crying. And then he just comes walking in for the press conference. And we're supposed to ask him questions about a 30-point loss after hearing him chew out somebody. We're like, oh God, this sucks.
Bro, he did that at Baylor too. He was yelling to some administrator from Baylor right after that game. We were in that little room.
That was the worst press conference setup of all time.
And then he just walks straight by and he's still fuming. And then K Wood's doing that. He's like, Curtis?
Curse? You want to
It's just like,
he
what
was
is-
sitting
come
in a
on, man.
chair right in front of us, and we're just like, yeah, what's going on?
No one makes eye contact with him.
Yeah.
No. I think because Mussa did threw the L to the crowd there of San
did.
Diego State.
Classic,
So
that's
yeah,
right.
he would have done horns down. But I feel like most coaches have done horns down. Bert did it, but he did it inadvertently, like with Charlie Strong. Remember that
Yeah,
whole
was a
thing?
little weird.
Yeah, when he was just like, "No, it's a tick." It's like, well, I mean, I guess it is, but still, that was perfectly timed in picture there. It's like, who has a tick where you do this?
Y'all remember
So-
the edited Matt Jones photo?
Yes. Yeah.
Legendary.
That's a good one.
I
Yeah.
spent like the first 21 years of my life thinking it was real.
Because it was like that was back when the internet was still a new thing, and everyone was like, "Whoa, look at that."
Photoshop was like early days back then.
Yeah, I mean, it was iconic. So it's like, it would have been better if Matt Jones did that, but he didn't. So that's okay. All right, we'll get back to your chats. A few things. Shout out to Hayden Ulmer, where he's like, Dad described this game in detail to me as a young Star Wars fanboy. UT is the evil empire. Arkansas are the underfunded good guy rebellion. You can appreciate that, Ellis.
Yeah,
little
I mean,
Star
you want
Wars
to talk about
reference.
an underfunded? Yeah, that's what this Arkansas football
Underfunded.
team is.
So
Right.
we've heard
Yeah.
virally.
What were they called again? What do you call them? Blue Light Special.
Yeah.
Jeez, like that is.
No, I mean I think that's how every dad should be describing it to their kid, because I mean it does kind of feel that way, where it's like you're up against something that you on paper shouldn't be able to overcome. So when you do beat them, it feels awesome.
Also, no sheep Sherlock. Great. Says, would it be wrong to cook steak at the tailgate? You think Beto? I think Bevo would be upset. No.
You talking about the governor?
I'm about to say, yeah, Beto, was that his name? Beto, whatever. He probably would be upset, but Bevo is not, because that's the same thing. Like when people play Arkansas, they're like, "All right, you like this, boys? We're making pork." I'm like, "Yeah, we eat it too."
We love pork, yes.
Like,
although my brother, who by the way was supposed to come in town for the game, canceled last minute, had some things to attend to. He still to this day, he's like 40 years old, does not eat pork, and it's because of the Hogs. Like he just is like, he won't even eat hot dogs, dude. It's crazy.
Jeez,
Bacon, none of that. Like he just will not do it, because when he was
miserable.
8 years old, he decided that's how he needed to be a Hog fan. And so then once you get to as an adult and you've never eaten any of it, it's like, I can keep going with
that's
this.
miserable.
Oh,
Jeremy says, "What shirt should I buy for the game tomorrow, fellas?" Tuck Texas. Well, how about you buy this one here at Alumni Hall? And I think, let me see. Yeah, I think they have a few shirts here for sale. You could probably get anything of your choice. They got sweatshirts, T-shirts.
Yeah, I'd say they
pullovers,
got some
quarters.
T-shirts
Yeah,
here.
yeah. I think they got some that you could probably find. So just any of them here at Alumni Hall, you'll get hooked up with them. They got plenty of. They even got overalls over there, which I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know if tomorrow is an overall type of day.
That's a basketball student section front row type of fit right there.
yeah, but I feel like that's like Wisconsin, like like where Indiana.
Indiana.
Yeah, this isn't.
Yeah.
It's fine if you want to wear it, but it's just doesn't seem unique to
Go to
that.
an Indiana football game, you'll find overalls and cigarettes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's a few heaters out there, some Marlboro Reds. Let's go, because we'll get to some of your chats because we're talking basketball. Well, I'm going to give another shout out to Kingsley, who's calling in right now. So, Kingsley, what's up, man? Glad to hear from you.
My guys, what's going on?
Oh, hanging out at Alumni Hall, surrounded by Razorback apparel. It's great.
Living the life, man. I get it. I just wanted to call in and say, man, God is good. And I appreciate y'all for having an awesome week, man. Making all this content, things I could watch late night when I couldn't sleep. like, man, I really needed it. So y'all had a great week. I really appreciate all the work y'all put in. Yep, it was good seeing y'all last weekend too. That was fun. I'm looking forward to seeing y'all more often too as y'all travel around. But yeah, this weekend, Texas Longhorns. I am old enough to remember the hate. I'm old enough to remember watching Razorbacks on big box TVs and everybody in the city yelling horns down. So I'm ready for this game. I don't have super high hopes, but I was wondering, do you think this is one of those games where we could catch them by surprise based on the changes that we had to make from Mississippi? And I'm not saying win the game, but I'm just saying, like, they found out that they were tipping some of their plays. They found on offense and defense, they've gone in and tried to make some adjustments. Could this be one of those games where Texas studies the tape, but we come out and do something completely different, and it looks like an actual football game?
I think there's something to that, frankly. I mean, look, in sports, when it comes to, like, signals and, like, the other team knows what you're doing, that stuff is way more prevalent than I think people realize, especially in football. I mean, the Connor Stallions doc did a good job highlighting that like, all teams are trying to do it. And in this game, I mean, if we back in 10 years and there's a huge scandal and it's like, hey, actually Ole Miss had everything, they knew everything was going on, wouldn't necessarily surprise me. I think there was a little bit more to this game, but I think when you have 2 weeks off and you have a bad as the Ole Miss game, if you're not looking in and reflecting and, like, changing up a lot of things, then they're doing it right. And so I think there's something to. Will it be enough to beat Texas? I don't think that factor is valid to an extent.
I could see it happening with Petrino identifying he saw in that Texas defense and maybe having some new wrinkles for him. I'm not really as confident in Travis Williams being able to start after what happened to him against Ole Miss because it was just he locked every move on that chessboard in that game, and he might have some stuff out there, but I think Sark is that good to where he would be able to win that battle. But I could absolutely see it on the other side.
Well, it's weird because you remember Travis Williams pre-season talked about, like, the kind of the sign stealing and how he's like, hey man, if you're not switching up your signals, then that's your fault.
Mm-hmm.
So it is interesting that now we're having this conversation about his defense, which again 3 weeks ago we had zero real concerns about. Now it's like, oh God, I don't know if they're going to be able to stop him at all.
Right. I think Sark is good, but I just don't know if anybody's that good to be, like, change proof. And I think Travis Williams is good enough to throw him a few curves, just enough to where if our offense is firing, God willing, that, we can make it look good, and maybe sneak away with something if we're really on point, if they really have the belief. But I think that's the other part of what I'm worried about is how much does this team actually still believe? I mean, watching them play Ole Miss was tough because you knew that, like, it was some games, and having played sports, some games you come out the tunnel and you're like, we're about to beat these guys ass. And some games you come out like, maybe we can hang. And that was definitely a maybe we can hang week. And if the coaches can get them to where they can come out the tunnel and believe in themselves to have a good game, then maybe we can make a good showing. So keeping the fingers crossed, man. That's all we can do. But stay positive, spread love.
All right, appreciate it, Kingsley. Thanks for calling in, man. Glad you're doing better.
Yeah, glad to hear you're doing well, man.
Yep.
Scary stuff. We're pulling for you, happy for you.
Yep, absolutely. All right, before we switch it up to basketball, let's squeeze in Trey and Harrison real quick. What's up, Trey?
What's up, guys?
What's going on, man?
Nothing much. I was just wanting to say, I'm glad Andrew's on my side about the front-facing hog. I mean, there's really nothing to hate about it.
Wow.
Listen,
there's nothing really to hate about it.
Yeah,
it's not like the best logo ever. It's fine. Look at it right there. It looks solid. It looks solid.
That. Yeah, it's a solid logo. It's not like, worst logo ever. It's not. At least we didn't do a freaking Georgia and just change the colors on the Green Bay Packers logo.
Yeah,
now that is true. That is true.
I called in for.
All right.
This is a very good solid call-in, and I feel like you're spitting some facts that people just don't want to hear. People don't want to believe the truth sometimes.
Oh yeah. Well, the forward-facing hog again. If you like it, great. But if not, you're on the right side of history. You're on the right side of history. So all right. Well, we'll go and get into our Arkansas update presented by Davis & Garrett Insurance, your independent auto insurance agency, securing what matters the most. I did want to bring this up because I know people in the chat, specifically here for Curtis, was asking about a particular player on the basketball side of things, and this comes from Michael Carter. Appreciate the super chat. He says, I know we're talking football, but boys, you think we can pull off recruiting Chris Sinak Jr.? Big fan.
Well, Michael, we appreciate your super chat, your donation, but no, I don't think that's going to happen. No, it's this is quickly started trending away from Arkansas, this recruitment. LSU had a lot of buzz going into that visit last weekend, but now it sounds like Houston and Tennessee are kind of pulling ahead. But Arkansas is definitely in the, they're not in the top tier of options there for Chris Sinak. But that's okay. I know people get frustrated about this, and they forget that Arkansas got a McDonald's All-American type player, like 3 days ago or something. But Caleb Wilson isn't visiting. I think it's a blessing in disguise for Arkansas. I mean, they just had. Not trouble as in he's a bad kid, but just there's too much baggage there going on, man. It's just the on-again, off-again visits, all the stuff about the NIL back and forth. So you would love to have a top-5 player in the country. You're not going to get him, and that's okay. I think Arkansas is still going to get, at least one, like tomorrow, by the way, a high school commitment. And then I think they're just going to be waiting until the spring a little bit. And so maybe not big guys necessarily because there aren't that many out there. Keep an eye on a name, Muhammad Silla. He's a kind of a late bloomer. He's up to the top 30 in some of those rankings as maybe a big guy that they go after for the spring. But like Nate Ament, just a 6'9" wing shooter is one to keep an eye on. Maybe a reclass guy like the big kid from Finland, Murinen. So some names to keep an eye on there. But to me, Arkansas should have 3 commitments in this class after tomorrow. Maybe you add one guy in the spring. But the more room you have for the transfer portal and the more John Calipari is forced to have to embrace it, the better. And I think they're going to have to do a pretty big makeover, almost like an overhaul of the front court for next year's team. And if that means they have to go out and get at least 2 big guys out of the transfer portal, I automatically feel better about what this team's going to look like next season without having a freaking clue who's going to be available and who they're going to get. So, that maybe that's a spin zone way of me saying, yeah, you're not going to get this 5-star big man. But I really do think with the way basketball is trending and with Cal being notorious for overdoing it with young, unproven players, that this could actually wind up being a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, and look, you think about it. I know Cal has changed the way that we view these things simply because he has such a good track record of getting these dominant recruiting classes. But think about how hard it is to get one 5-star player to commit to your school. You pretty much, that needs to be like your top priority for a long time. It's not just something that kind of happens. And so when you have 2 of the top 10 players in the class already, you didn't get them by them not being your top priority. And so it's like, it really is kind of tough to just look at it and be like, oh, yeah, let's get this guy, this guy, this guy. It's like with these 5-star guys that are very, basketball players are a fickle bunch. They're all they like the attention. It's really hard to get 2 of them, let alone 3, 4. It really is kind of tough.
Right.
You kind of, for a guy like Chris Sinak, where like LSU, for example, like that's all that LSU staff has been worried about for a year.
It's their entire
You know what I
NIL
mean? Like
budget.
literally,
Yeah.
that's and they're putting all their chips into that basket. Whereas Arkansas has putting their eggs in a couple of really highly touted 5-star baskets already, and now they're looking to add to it. But it's really tough to win those races if you're not fully committed and like that's your only priority. And frankly, Calipari is in a position where none of these guys should be his number one and only priority because he's in the mix for everybody.
Yeah, and he said, over and over and over, I think, I'm not doing the 6-7 freshman anymore, 3 to 4. Why I want him to stick to that, right?
Yes.
And so if you get Sealy tomorrow, as you would hope you do, then that gets you to 3, and then you play the waiting game into the spring for these guys. And you wind up with a Nate Ament, you pop off another 5-star there, awesome, you're freaking loaded. If not, you're still in a really good position. That just means it's one more experienced transfer that you wind up getting. So good problem to have.
It reminded me when you're talking about the guy like canceling visits or switching visits or whatever it is. Do you guys remember that tight end, that 5-star tight end that Arkansas had committed to him? And then he committed to Georgia, but then he committed to LSU.
Yes.
I don't remember his name, though.
He moved schools a lot.
Yes.
And he never ended up playing.
No.
I can't remember his name.
But he was like a high 4-star, like 5-star tight end.
God, what was that kid's name? Because
Yeah.
I had, obviously my LSU friends were like obsessed with him, and then they were like, "Wait, this guy sucks, man. He's like skipping. He like quit multiple SEC football teams."
Yeah.
Eric Gilbert, ARIK
Yep.
Gilbert.
Yeah,
Yep.
Rick,
Eric
that's
Gilbert.
right.
And he was like a top 10 overall player who like never ended up really being able to play that much.
Yeah. That was
Now he's at Nebraska.
yeah. He's a former college football player that played for Nebraska. He also played for LSU and Georgia.
Yeah, and I don't
so.
know. He maybe caught 10 passes in his career. It's just one of
Yeah.
those things. Obviously, it's not always that. And kids decommitting and going somewhere else, like it doesn't necessarily always mean something bad. But there's a lot to that.
It's
I'll
a
just
track
say.
record. Exactly.
How about Isaiah Satania, by the way? I feel like because he was that guy that like canceled visits and went to
He
7
was.
different and committed to 3 different schools. It's crazy that amid all this chaos in Arkansas's football program, he just stayed put. He's just like, yeah, I'm here.
Where did he commit to elsewhere?
He was
A&M?
A&M at
Oregon?
first, and then Oregon, I
That's
believe,
right, yeah. I
and
guess
then
that was it.
Fayetteville, and then Arkansas.
Yeah, well, it's working out for him there. This one comes from actually good. Shout out to Whitty F for super chat. Says horns down, Broden, 2
you go.
touchdowns.
Hey,
I don't know about that.
Whitty, I've noticed this. He's kind of come to admire Broden.
I think
His
so.
his tone has
Yeah.
definitely shifted on Broden. He
I
likes
think
it.
I think he's watched the simulations too many times.
He hung on to some tough grabs last night in
Yep.
that losing effort.
Yeah, he did. And that punt block for scoop and score that Texas had just changed the game.
Just brutal.
Just changed the game. Never could recover. Also, Jeremy says, wild question for Curtis, LOL. Is it a coincidence that Brazil changed his number to 4 for Devo, LOL, or is there a much deeper meaning to that?
I think he just changed his number.
Yeah.
I think he knows he wants to play the 4 this year, and so
No, it's like, again, it's kind of when Kobe Bryant changed his number, new number, new you, or whatever they say, wants to be twice as good as he was before. That's why
different beast.
number 4, yeah. I don't know. Nobody's really even asked him.
I think it's sometimes as simple as like Trevin Brazile probably really liked the number 4 when he first got to Arkansas.
Devo
It wasn't
had it.
available. Now it's available, and so he got it. That's what happened with Gage Wood. He always wanted 14. He had to wait a couple years.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same thing with Charles Thomas and Patrick Beverly. Because Charles Thomas always, or Patrick Beverly always wanted to be 21. So when Charles Thomas was 21, he switched to 3. It happens. That's
He
what I'm saying.
also he was also the last one added to the roster, and you probably could, I guess, if you're an upperclassman, but you're really gonna go to Boogie Fland and be like, "Yo, that's my number, bro."
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
I
Well,
don't think
especially
so.
when we're talking about Brazil, right?
Yeah.
I also think Cal, like, it wasn't he admitted he didn't think Trevin Brazile was that good. he's like, I'm not about to tell Carter Knox he can't be this certain
Yeah,
number.
exactly.
Get out of here.
So Dalton comes and says Travis Williams is a young quarterback merchant.
he
That was
is.
a funny comment.
that was a
Yeah.
great comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's,
That's a good one.
If Quinn Ewers does dice up Arkansas and it's just like 30 of 38 or something like that, it just cooks. It's time to push that agenda that he
it's
might be
true.
young.
Yeah, because somebody said earlier when we were talking about, I think I said just think Texas is just a better football team. Somebody was like, "Well, was Tennessee not a better football team?" And my retort was going to be Nico Iamaleava was
And-
not a better quarterback than what Arkansas has seen the last few
I know
weeks.
Tennessee has just one loss, and it's to Arkansas, which kind of blows my mind. They also haven't played the toughest schedule of all time. But I would say, like, if we're just comparing football teams, I think Texas is a substantially safer, better football team than Tennessee. Obviously, the records don't necessarily reflect that right now in the rankings, but I think when it's all said and done, if you put those two teams in a room together, I think Texas whips their ass.
Yeah. And also, because like you talked about with the Texas not playing anybody, you think about Arkansas and the games they've won, they have not played good quarterbacks. And the times they did play good quarterbacks, they got their taints handed to them. Garrett Nussmeier. Jackson
older
Dart.
ones especially.
Yeah,
too,
and older ones, but it's just like quality ones. But then you're playing Peyton Thorne and Auburn. You're playing even A&M had Marcel Reed, who was good, but Connor Wegman was their guy.
Yeah.
So I think that's also something you got to play into consideration.
It'll
too.
be interesting with Missouri because their quarterback is not necessarily good, but he is old, and so it's like that's a good litmus test for it's like
Is he going to be back? Is he good?
Oh, is he out for the year?
Well, I didn't know. I thought he was.
He's back.
Is he back? Okay.
Weekend, is he?
Yeah, I remember when it happened. They were like, "Oh, man, this is going to be horrible." But that's the reason why they lost 34-0 to Bama. I remember that people saying was that. Speaking of Bobby, comes in and says, "Do you think Bobby P is ruining his name by coming back this year? He was a legend before." No.
Was he a legend before? Also, I know he was a legend among Hog fans, but I don't think Bobby P was widely I don't think people were really talking about him before. I don't know. I don't think it really changes much
He's just
before.
been a well-respected offensive mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I mean, Arkansas's offense is still putting up yards and stuff. I don't think this really change as much. But I've also always been the guy who said that had Bobby P not had the whole motorcycle thing, it would have that actually played out better for him than it probably would have if it had just played out. Because I think Arkansas probably would have went like 7-5 in 2012.
I disagree,
dude. They went 4-8. You think they would have? What do you think they would have been 10-2 with Bobby Petrino?
At least 8-4.
Oh, hell no, dude.
Yeah.
That team stunk.
Yeah,
that team stunk, bro.
Dude, if you had Tyler Wilson as well as Kobe Hamilton and Chris Gregg, and you had Travis Swanson on the offensive line.
They had all those guys. They had all those guys before,
Mal Davis. Yeah, and they went 11-2 the year before.
No, but I'm sorry. The year before, they had a well-rounded team, offense, defense. They were,
and they went 11-2 is what I'm saying.
Right, but I'm saying then they didn't have all those pieces. They only had like half of those pieces, a broken leg, Nile Davis.
Oh,
and,
well, just saying. I think it would have been better than 4-8 though.
Well, either way, Bobby Petrino's been fired at every stop he's been the last 5 years.
Yeah.
I feel like he would have eventually gotten fired at Arkansas, in which case he wouldn't be viewed as a legend, which I guess he was viewed before. But
yeah, hey, listen, Arkansas offense is not. It's light years ahead of what it was a year ago. Light years. It still has its issues, but yeah. I mean, what are they against?
That's why I think this year didn't really affect his his standing too much.
No, I mean, is anybody looking at it and just be like, this Bobby Petrino hire was a disaster? I don't think anyone's looking at it that way.
Well, no, nobody's looking at it that way. But before they've just padded the stats against Mississippi State, people were looking at it going, what the hell's really going on?
Yeah. No, yeah, I'm not saying
it's been
perfect, but yeah.
I think the people in the offseason who really thought that Bobby was going to turn around a failing program into a successful program, I think that was like a pipe dream to begin with. I think most people probably, like us, frankly, I would say it played out about how we expected for the most part. Like preseason.
There was like an irrational percentage of the fan base that expected him to be the interim head coach by now.
Yep.
No, it's like a good quarter of it. Into which case, look, the whole time, if people had been listening to the show, we've been saying that wasn't going to happen.
Right.
This isn't going to be just some magical fairyland we live in. But Arkansas could be improved offensively, which they are improved offensively.
Yeah. In fact, Hunter Ratio says, do you think we should keep Petrino if we change head coaches? I mean, listen, if you change head coaches, what it needs to be is simply, hey, you as the head coach, hire who you want. Yeah. That's what it needs to be. I don't think it needs to be about keeping Petrino or not. Just whatever that coach wants to be, set him up for success by letting him have who he wants. That's
and if that coach wants Petrino, sure.
Yeah. Keep him on. But, I don't think you want to – all right, coach, we're going to hire you. But here's the thing. You got to keep your offensive coordinator. You got to keep this guy. No, that's
who. By the way, if you lose 2 games, they're going to want to hire. The fan base is going to want him as the head coach.
Yes, exactly. This comes from Edward. He says, as long as they keep it close, be competitive, and win last 2 games plus bowl game, Hogs will gain a lot of momentum heading into the spring. Also, a lot of Sam haters will calm down for at least a year. I don't know. I don't know if they'll calm down. It depends. It depends on how it goes, but I don't know. It's just so angsty right now. It's so awkward. It's so uncomfortable. There's so much tension among the fan base. Just don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, if they beat Missouri, if they lose this game, let's say they lose this game by 14, and then they beat Louisiana Tech beat Missouri. I don't know if I would say they have a ton of momentum, but I think it would probably fans would ultimately just be like, all right, we can live with that.
Yeah. You go 7-5, 4-4 in SEC play, and you finally beat Missouri, which
would be notable.
Yeah, because what 7-5 will get you maybe to Nashville for
so.
For the Music City.
Yeah, there were quite a few Vegas Bowl projections this week, John.
Interesting.
Just letting you know.
That's very interesting.
In your ear,
It's very interesting. I hear they have direct flights on Allegiant Air.
And honestly, can we say this? If they don't beat Missouri this year, it's never going to happen. Brady Cook's dead. They vastly underachieved. They're all SEC All-American centers out for the year now. They're just.
I don't know, man, because they've lost to Missouri when they've been 0-7 in SEC play.
I don't know if I could go as far as a never, because I don't think this is the worst Missouri team that Arkansas is ever going to see. I feel like there will be a year in the next decade where Missouri just sucks.
But I do believe it is the most beatable, as in you see true weakness from them. Because the only good teams they've played this year have beaten the crap out of them.
You guys sound
not
like
even
Missouri
close.
fans to me.
I think there's a room. The one time Arkansas has beaten Missouri was 2021, where it just happened to be the best Arkansas team of the decade and the worst Missouri team of the decade. I think there's room for something like that to happen in the next 8 years.
2016 was the worst one because that was, again, the year that Missouri was 0-7 in SEC play.
Right.
And then they still lost because is it Brizzell or whatever that linebacker was from Missouri. It's like, oh, yeah, we're going to smoke Arkansas. And everyone's like,
What was that dude's name?
Yeah.
I think it was like Eric Beisel or something like that.
David Basil.
David Basil, that's it. Yeah, that's
That's
who it
right,
was.
yeah.
Yeah, David Basil.
Linebacker David Basil.
That's
yeah.
right. Or quarterback, whoever it was then in the chat that day was like, who's the best Razorback quarterback ever? David Basil. It's like, oh, okay. So, yeah. But it would be a time where, especially if, I don't know, it just, you know that they want that game. You know Sam Pittman wants that game. You know that Arkansas wants to beat Missouri and kind of shut Drink up. So maybe that'd be something. But Edward also says, love the T-shirt, John, but it needs horns down symbol too. That's why we have Curtis.
Yeah.
Because Curtis has the horns down symbol. You can only have, actually, no, you can't have so many horns down symbols. But yeah, I was trying to look in my closet and like mixing it up a little bit. I was like, oh, this Texas shirt, that's way too small for me. I'll wear this. This will be fine. It's a little
When did you get
medium.
that?
3 years ago as a gift. I've never worn it before until today, so I don't even know if it fit. But it doesn't, but I still wore it. It's fine. Also, Ice Cold Mint Julep says, was those maybe a 2-year plan between Sam Pittman, Bobby Trino, Hunter Yurchek? TGE is getting better and having a lot of these guys coming back and could make an even better team next year.
Well, look, that mindset and that like premise, whether I agree with it or not, you beat Missouri, you beat Louisiana Tech, you beat Missouri, and then you win whatever bowl game. That is the route to having that type of mentality of like, hey, you know what, 7-5, which by the way, preseason 7-5, again, we all would have signed up for. I think if Arkansas is able to finish strong, you can make that case for sure. But if it goes the other way and you get hammered by Texas and you lose to Missouri by 10 and then you go to the Meineke Car Care Bowl, I don't necessarily think you're going to be able to play that card, especially because especially if you want to excite the fan base. But, you know, you're always in control of your own narrative. If Arkansas goes out there and plays well down the stretch, then, yeah, well, you could talk us into that for sure.
I just don't understand having that, like the biggest hot seat in the country coming into the year and then thinking that it was the plan to have a 2-year, you know,
Yeah.
like I get it. And I agree. Like if it finishes out the way you're talking about, then sure. And I think there's probably some benefit to that line of thinking because it's not like, I mean, there are examples out there of, you know, a coaching change or whatever, and then it would be a complete roster overhaul, and then it works out okay the first year, but chances are it would get worse before it gets better if you make a change after this year, you know.
Yeah,
So,
that's true. That's true. I don't think here's the deal. I know people want to think that maybe there's this grand scheme and plan, but a lot of times I don't think it's that. I think it's more of Sam Pittman knew this is your 1 year. You better do something. I'll hire Petrino, and let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
You know, just roll the dice and see how it goes.
My laptop's dying, but do either of y'all agree with Hog Life's stance that the fan base won't be excited no matter who they hire?
No, that's not true at all.
That's what I was going to say. I was like, I feel like, matter of fact, I would say the fan base is going to be excited no matter who they hire because it'll just be something different. People will gladly talk. Dude, people got fired up when Arkansas hired Sam Pittman, which, like, look, we can argue about whether that was accurate or not. People will talk themselves into quite literally anything. So I think if they fire Sam Pittman, a lot of the fan base would view that as like, hey, they're tired of mediocrity. They're ready to move forward. And so then if they hired literally anyone, people would get excited. I don't buy. I think you could make a better argument. People won't be excited no matter what if Sam Pittman returns. Like even if they went 7-5 down the stretch.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I
that's
think
where
it's
I'm at.
more likely that that's true.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I mean, shoot, people are even somewhat a little bit excited about Chad Morris.
No,
You know,
yeah.
like, oh, yeah. This guy knows Texas, knows recruiting down there.
Yeah, I would say they literally hired an under 500 coach from a group of 5 school, and
Taj Boyd.
nobody, there really wasn't that much pushback. There really wasn't.
He recruited Deshaun Watson. I mean, that's what everybody was saying. So, yeah, that's going to be disappointing if he comes back, though, just to be honest. It's going to be very disappointing.
We've had like no less than 100 people in the last few days tell us that Biddy said Pittman's 100% coming back unless they lose the Louisiana Tech.
Well, and to that point, like people were so mad at that.
Yeah.
That's why I think if they fired Pittman, no matter who they hired, people would be excited.
Yeah, and that's what it's about. It's about having that level of enthusiasm and optimism that at least changes the narrative. Because I think if they hired somebody like Rhett Lashley, for instance, people would be pumped.
Yeah,
They'd be pumped.
Yeah, they would be.
You know, it's like there'll be some people that be what happened when we hired the last SMU coach.
Yeah.
You know, there'll be idiots like
There's
that.
people that are going to think they're like the first person to come up with that.
Yes.
Just like they were in the offseason, everyone was like, I mean, is Petrino worth one score? Because Arkansas last year in one-score games. But like everybody thought they were the first one to come up with that.
And Bias Brim says, if we lose him and he balls out, I'm going to lose my mind. He's talking about Malachi Singleton, sorry. So he's like, I want Malachi as my starting quarterback next year.
Yeah.
I mean, it just depends, man.
I don't know.
It depends on who your coach is, honestly.
Yeah. If that's the case, you're going to have to run Taylor Green out of town.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you just really want to do that, just straight up? Be like, hey,
I think the
you're
whole
out.
premise of bringing back Bobby and bringing all that is because of Taylor. You know what I mean? And look, you could technically sub in Malachi, and it's the same thing, but I think you'd have to get rid of Taylor, right?
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to process him, as they say. Yeah,
And I like Malachi a lot.
I do too.
But it's almost like you got to go get some.
Oh yeah.
You
That's
got to
good
go get
meeting you,
some.
man.
Offensive
good to see you
linemen,
too. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Like you're going to have to rebuild that offensive line. Like you're replacing Andrew Armstrong. I mean, I don't know. Just I feel like with the makeup of the roster, and who knows what it's going to look like after the transfer portal. But it's like you really kind of need a game changer type of guy at the quarterback position. You guys ready to get back to it?
Sorry, we had to pose for a pick real quick. We were posing over here. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and I think the thing with Malachi, and look, I guess the Ole Miss game counts as this, but it's like I think a lot of people are really just excited about him because he's just something different. Like we just said, people would be excited no matter who they hired a head coach. I think people will talk themselves into whatever quarterback Arkansas rolls with next year just because they're just going to do that. I mean, hell, there was a lot of people in the offseason that told us we were stupid for not thinking Taylor was not, should be viewed as a way higher, quarterback than he is. So yeah, I think with the thing with Malachi is he's become like the popular guy just because he's not the starter.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, whatever coach, if whoever comes in, I want them to have their quarterback too. And if they think it's Malachi, great. And if they don't, want to go into the
they want
portal,
to bring in a guy.
Yeah, get somebody else. That works too.
Hey, Trey said Pittman's coming back next year.
No way.
No way.
Yeah.
Dude, how have I not heard about this? How come no one's talking about this?
Y'all got that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, good. Yeah. You have established it. Great.
What
Good
the
to know.
heck?
What the heck?
Trey said Sam will be back.
Oh, yeah.
We've touched on that like a good bit.
Yeah, I think we've established
we've
that.
covered it extensively. I don't.
We covered every national report that came out about it before that too.
We've done
It's just like
5 shows since that happened.
We know.
Actually,
Yes.
we know.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Nothing, guys, I know that maybe you don't think so, but I'd like to think we're somewhat plugged in to like what's happening in the world.
We also read and are aware.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah, we do that. Sauces say that he's going to be coming back. Yeah, it's just.
Also, cite the right guy. Cite Brandon Marcello. Because he's the one who really started that whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's see. Let's actually look at some of the other games going on in college football this weekend. Let's see. I mean, I'm kind of excited for the Georgia-Tennessee game just because I don't know really what's going to happen. I think Georgia's going to win.
What's the spread in that game?
9.5, according to Bet Saracen for Georgia.
That's a
lot of points.
Look, I was prepared to bet Georgia no matter what, but that's almost like disrespectful a little bit. That's Vegas basically saying we ain't buying your BS, Tennessee.
Yeah, I don't like
They're
that.
not sure about Nico, the concussion though.
Oh, is he his status is in question?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So then I think either way.
Yeah. From
But
what
frankly, if Nico plays, I don't think that really. I don't think he's a safe bet to like dice up that Georgia defense
This is also
anyway.
very
Yeah.
it's a very good point.
Yeah. Well, also I wanted to bring up that I don't know. I think it was this. There was like a Tennessee source off there in the local media. Some people saying he was good, other people saying he wasn't good, and then
Really?
that's what I think I remember seeing.
I love a good source
There's
off.
nothing better than that.
Yeah, especially on the national landscape. When there's a national one, you got like Brett McMurphy throwing shade to Heather Dinich or whatever, and it's just chaos. Because then you got people getting in their corners, like, "No, I believe this person," and then it like ends up everyone forgets about it because then someone ends up being right, but nobody cares. Let's see. Also with that game, the Missouri-South Carolina game is so fascinating, where they're 2 top 25 teams, but South Carolina's favored now by 14 points, by 2 touchdowns at home.
I think they're
when
going to
we're-
win, but my goodness.
I was saying, like,
Yeah.
are we giving South Carolina a little too much respect? Like they
think
have
so.
been they have been playing some good football here lately.
Yeah.
But that's
Missouri money line's plus 500.
That's better than Arkansas's. Like literally, Arkansas's plus 400, right?
Yeah, plus 360, I believe, right now.
Good lord.
Yeah.
Arkansas's damn near a pick 'em.
Comparatively speaking, yeah. But yeah, when I saw that plus 500 and minus 14, it's possible, but I don't
Look,
know. if
South
I'm
Carolina
judging
has whipped some ass this year. I don't think they should be 14-point favorites over really any SEC team, even though they've beaten a few by 14. Like I don't like if South Carolina played Arkansas, I don't think they should be 14-point
that.
favorites.
The fact that Missouri is a bigger dog than Arkansas is against Texas
That's
is wild.
crazy,
wild.
man. I think those two
It's
teams
so
are pretty
weird.
close to I view them pretty similarly, Missouri
Same.
and South Carolina.
Yeah. But here's the thing: if South Carolina does just destroy Missouri, That's well. I wonder if Eli's still going to come out and be like, "Hey, well, no, I still believe we're a playoff team."
So maybe Cook's status is his. Are we sure for sure he's playing for Missouri? Because maybe that line, maybe that's what that means. Is
we can check the old handy dandy injury report that they put out, and is always very accurate. Because no matter who the coach is, they're always going to be on top of it.
I forget there's an injury report.
So as of right now, according to the Missouri injury report from last night, he is Brady Cook is doubtful.
Okay. Doubtful. Okay.
Doubtful.
So that line definitely is like we don't think he's playing.
But Sam Horn, their other quarterback, is out. So they're literally to their third stringer. If Brady Cook can't go, they're on their third string quarterback.
Nah, they've been starting that Drew Pine dude from.
Oh, I thought it was still
Notre
Horn.
Dame.
Shoot. I was hopeful.
He started the Oklahoma game. He might have been their third string guy for all I know. But,
Drew Pine, is he the one that was getting chewed out on the
yes,
head?
Yes,
that's him.
Just do your job.
That's him.
See, and also in national college college football, there's really not any other incredible games, I would say. Most of them are in the SEC for tomorrow because it's just, I don't know, these schedules sometimes are really weird. They get thrown out. Like, Ohio State, for instance, playing Northwestern. Not exactly moving the needle. Bama's playing Mercer, which I know is an SEC. Penn State's playing Purdue.
Dude, Bama loves playing a November cupcake.
Yep, get ready for that Auburn game, man. Get
That's
their
where
mind right.
That line that Saban had where he's like, they ran through our ass like shit through a tin horn. And we couldn't, it was when they played
Georgia Southern.
It was Georgia Southern in like late
Could not
November.
stop them.
We
Could not stop them.
them.
Could not stop them. He just kept volumizing it. Yeah, that's like, God, man, I will say I
miss Saban, dude.
I miss Saban when he'd go on those, because my favorite one, I know we're going on a tangent, but my favorite one was when actually they were about to play Arkansas in that Chad Morris year. It was the final year when the 2019. And some reporters just like, before the game, ask him, do you have any sort of plan in place to expedite the development of Tagovailoa? Because he was the third string quarterback. Yeah. And then he's like, in this game, he's like, no, we're focused on winning the game. All right, and we're going to make sure that we win the game. Right. And we're going to play everybody that wants to play who's going to help us win the game. We're not just going to play anybody just to play them, except focusing on winning the game. And he just went off. It was like, yeah, but then Tagovailoa actually got into that game, so it ended up working out. I think it's Arkansas got it worked. Yeah, because that was Tua and then Mac Jones in Talia for that.
Who ended up going to Maryland and having a nice little run.
Yeah, Maryland. Was it DJ Loxley, right? You followed him over there, I believe?
Yeah. And,
yeah, really not any other great game. It's just disappointing. How are we in, second week of November, and there's not really any banger of games? You got Washington State, New Mexico, Kansas, BYU, Texas A&M, New Mexico State, Oregon, Wisconsin. But Wisconsin's 5-4. Honestly, one of the best games might be Arizona State, Kansas State, a Big 12 matchup because both teams are 7-2.
Let me ask you this: are y'all surprised that Luke Fickell didn't make Wisconsin, he didn't just have them rolling? I really thought he was going to go over there because they were always an 8-4, 9-3 type of team. I thought Luke Fickell was one of the best coaches in the country.
I didn't think they were going to get worse.
Yeah, they've kind of just become very average. I thought he would take it there and they would be pushing for playoff seeding at this point.
Yeah,
but man,
I did too.
It is kind of surprising.
It is.
I was a little shocked by. There's certain coaches like that. Well, I always bring up.
Yeah.
Where's his name? Just escaped me now. The guy that from UCF that went to Nebraska.
Scott Frost.
Frost. Yeah, I was like, I didn't know if he'd go over there and win national championships. I'm like, okay, this guy's going to get it going, and he just never did.
We didn't know that his thick neck OC turned out to be the real mastermind behind everything, his Bobby Hill OC. But I'll tell you, remember that if Arkansas does have a coaching search, fellas, that these guys that we all decide are these generational coaching talents, for instance, Tom Herman, that was a guy that I thought he was going to be a stud. It really is just not that simple where it's like, oh, yeah, this guy, he'll just go here and he'll obviously have a lot of success because there's been dozens of them over the years.
Brett Bielema.
We were talking about Dana Holgerson the other day where it's when he went to Houston, we were like, wait, of course he'll do great at Houston. Just it doesn't always work out that way. And then there's been plenty that I've been like, I wasn't crazy about that hire.
Rich Rodriguez at Michigan was always the funniest one.
Oh, yeah, that was one where everyone would have bet their life that he was going to be really good at Michigan, I feel like.
Tamard Robinson was about as good as he got for him.
Andrew?
Uh-oh.
It depends on what ranking you look at. Perfect game, Arkansas is number 4. I would say anybody who cares about baseball recruiting rankings in November needs to get off that crack pipe, dude.
Folks,
literally, there's going to be a draft where half the players don't even sign. But I will say this about Arkansas's baseball class: so the year before, Arkansas had the unanimous number 1 class, by far, every metric. Even after the draft, they still had a huge gap. And last year's class, they pretty much phoned it in with the freshmen. I think they finished 23rd or something like that. Where they got guys that weren't draft risks. They only lost one guy to the draft. This year's class is right in between that, and I like it a lot. Where it's like there's a couple of guys who are draft risks. They've got a kid, Peyton Lee, out of Maumelle, who's a right-handed pitcher and an infielder who's probably going to end up pitching. If they can get him to campus, which I think they might have a chance, he's going to be an instant impact guy. Like they've got a lot of guys who are like on that range of like not quite gonna sign right out of high school, but they're like top 200 in the draft rankings, where they're like in that where you want them to be, frankly. Because everybody, we all freaked out like Arkansas's got the #1 class in the country. It's the best thing in the world, and then like 9 of them literally signed.
Yeah.
They like signed for a combined like $15 million or something like that, which is cool. But it's like, it's not worth freaking out too much. But I actually really like the class. I think it's the perfect middle ground of kind of the last 2 classes that they've had. I think they're going to get a lot of quality guys to campus from it.
Hey, Walker Martin would have been here at Arkansas if they would offer him a dime less than that.
Than the 1 point.
Yeah, like the 3.295, 6, 7, 8, 9, $10 million, whatever it was. Yeah, wouldn't have taken a dime less. Also, guys, not only is you got some college football this week, but it's got some good college basketball. We talked about it last night.
Yeah,
but
man.
Tonight, you got Alabama-Purdue. It's on Peacock, so just a heads up.
Purdue's won 21 straight games in their home arena, and that is getting snapped.
According to Bet Saracen, 2.5-point favorites for Bama in this one.
Oh, dude, I'm going to smack that, dude.
Wow,
I'm going to smack that.
Yep, I am
What's
too.
Purdue ranked?
13th.
13, okay.
Yep, 13th in the
Zach
country.
Edey ain't walking back through that door.
No, he's not.
And his 40 free throws. So
Hey, he's hooping in the association right now. He's hooping, dude.
Saw him hit a corner 3 the other day and was like, really?
He's if you want money line for Purdue, it's plus 125. So if you want that. You also got probably more known for its football, but Florida State. They're on the ACC network, a little SEC action there.
Is Leonard Hamilton still there at Florida
Still
State?
there.
He's
Still
been there
kicking, man.
forever, man.
He's damn near 80.
I think we're nearing the end, though, right? Like, I think Florida State's been kind of.
I'm glad you brought that up because I think Florida State is the most iconic program of the 3 major sports that keeps coaches forever.
Yeah.
Mike Martin, Leonard Hamilton, Bobby Bowden.
Obviously.
Like, Jimbo was there for a good minute.
I heard Bobby Bowden speak. He came and spoke at Louisiana College in Pineville. And he was him and Jacob Hester
for
some reason. And I went and I paid like $50 to go see him. Bobby Bowden is the funniest speaker ever. He told so many stories. He said when he first got to Florida State, he put tickets on his car windshield to, trying to get fans to come to the games, and he came back from the grocery store and there was 12 tickets there.
Did he say "Dad Gum"? I feel like that was his favorite phrase.
He said a lot, man. He literally he didn't have a message at all. He literally just rattled off like 30 stories from his FSU days.
Love that. Also, another top 25 game in college basketball tonight on the SEC network at 8 p.m. Ohio State, Texas A&M.
It's a good one.
Yeah, this game's going to be there in College Station. And Texas A&M according to Bet Saracen, 5.5-point favorites against Ohio State.
Yeah, I might like Ohio State to cover that. I might like them to win outright. It's tough on the road though, but
plus 200.
Texas A&M, man. Wade Taylor's not even their leading scorer. He's only averaging less than 13 a game right now, but he's averaging like 6 assists.
How's Anders Garcia doing?
He's probably just a single double or whatever we want to call it.
Well, 8 and 5.
Yeah. I mean, I guarantee you, he's probably averaging like 4 points and 11 rebounds or something. But yes, that's kind of interesting. But Ohio State's fun, man. They've got the interim named head coach now.
Yeah.
And they got the Bruce Thornton kid who's really good. But Michie Johnson, man, from South Carolina is over there now. So it's a decent little team.
Is there a worse spread to bet in college basketball than plus 5.5?
It's seriously though.
It's like seriously it's the worst number. Like
free throws, man.
Football, I always hate 4.5 because like you're just kind of right smack in the middle. 5.5 when you're regardless of which side you're on, you don't feel good about it down the stretch because it's like, all right, are they going to shoot these? Now there's 12 seconds left. Are they going to go down and try to score real quick? Or it just never works out in your favor.
I'm speaking of guys. I don't know if I'm ever going to forgive Boogie Fland for what he did the other night.
For not taking the layup there at the end.
16.5 is what I had the Hogs at.
Really? Oh, wow, dude. That's
I screamed at him from the stands.
That's brutal. Curtis, what game was it that you and I – it was Kansas, Michigan State.
Yeah.
Curtis and I both placed live bets that were within a point. Like I think I had I had Kansas
minus 7.5.
And I had Michigan State plus 8.5.
Yeah.
And it was right smack in the middle. We
I would
both
have broke
won.
my phone. I would have just thrown
it
it,
made
man.
me so happy, man.
That'll probably never happen again.
No,
not with those odds. Let's see another. I don't know. This game would have been good. I mean, it's good for right now because Marquette's good, but Marquette and Maryland, that would have been a great game in the mid 2000s.
Oh yeah,
yeah. With the Terrapins going on there, but you also got Arizona, Wisconsin. What was the Wisconsin's coach that was there? With Bo what?
Bo Ryan.
Bo Ryan. I remember he was always constantly like
Greg
that.
Gard.
Yeah, he was like just like Wisconsin football forever, where he's just good.
Where was
but
Gard
never
at before?
Great.
I think he was there.
Was he just
Could
like
be
an
wrong.
assistant?
I think so.
Because Bo Ryan was there for a long time, right?
Mm-hmm.
The old guy.
Yeah, he was there for a minute.
Greg Gard is the silent assassin, I've been told.
That's right. Yeah.
And then there's not really any games of note on Saturday for college basketball except for South Carolina, Indiana.
John,
What?
you're not going to mention the blue blood matchup of Villanova and Virginia?
Oh man, it slipped my. I only had the top 25 teams listed.
I mean,
there.
I'm not going to be able to get home soon enough after we wrap up here to catch that one.
What time is that game?
I think it's
4 p.m.
I think I was going to say it's either 3 or 4. Yeah. So
Villanova's favored by 4.5.
It's
Villanova
crazy.
being favored over anyone is insane.
Money
But
line plus 150 for Virginia.
You got to
feeling
have
it.
you have to be in an interim coach situation with the best player already in the transfer portal for Villanova to be favored over you.
Is that a game you think they scheduled multiple years ago?
Probably.
And they were
thinking like, man,
this is going to be sick, man.
Yeah.
What about TCU Michigan's tonight or this evening?
That's
Fox Sports
interesting.
One.
That is an interesting
I want to
game.
see how
It's
TCU does.
It's 5 p.m. on Fox Sports 1.
Okay.
Michigan's favored by 6.5 in this game. According to Bet Saracen.
Feels about right.
They've looked pretty solid though, Michigan.
Yeah.
They've looked better, yeah. Well, they're 1-1, so I guess it's not like
They lost to a
Huge.
Wake Forest. I think it was Wake Forest. A Wake Forest team I think is going to be pretty good. So.
Okay, so this
Chris
is
Paul.
this is actually the most
Tim
important
Duncan.
game. We got to talk about the team that knocked off the Kentucky Wildcats in the NIT. Robert Morris facing off against the Fighting Curtis Wilkersons of Lindenwood.
Well,
That one's
you
a
know,
big
Robert
one.
Morris is about to whip him. I
Yeah,
imagine.
Robert Morris is favored by 6.5 in this one.
Lindenwood gave a valiant effort yesterday. They were down big to Nolans. They made a huge run to get back into that game. So kudos to them. They're going to get beat by double digits by Robert Morris tonight. There's not quite there yet.
Is New Orleans any good these days?
No.
They had a stretch where they were like one year they were the 16-16 play-in game. That was like the highest I ever saw them got. But
Privateers?
Privateers, yeah, they're not cooking anymore.
All right, I'm going to call out Gonzaga. Their game tonight is against UMass Lowell.
Yeah.
Why? What is that?
It's Elvis Presley's alma mater.
That's a lot of travel
That
for a
is.
non-conference game that no one's going to watch.
Yeah, like you're not telling me there's anybody up there in the Northwest that you could schedule that could be a little bit easier?
Pacific?
Not sure.
Okay, you couldn't have got Pacific
Yeah,
in there?
seriously. Also, I love these. The great games that would have been great like 10, 20 years ago. West Virginia and Pitt is also tonight.
Oh, that would
Yeah.
That would have been great.
I'll
The Jamie
probably watch a
Dixon.
little bit
That
of
sounds like an
anyway.
11 a.m. football game is what that sounds like.
It was an 11 a.m. football game actually not too long ago.
Well, if you want to watch that one, you got to watch it on the ACC Extra Plus network. That's what it's called.
Wow.
The ACC Extra Plus.
Wow. I mean, what would the SEC Network Extra Plus?
Man,
Is that-
yeah, I guess you have to find that thing
Plus
on.
Plus?
Yeah, you got to go on some sort of like Roku and find some deep in the depths of the apps.
Yeah.
Curtis, you see what he just said?
Where are we at?
It's getting knocked
John
out.
Jones is getting knocked out. I'm
Dude,
you
that
know
would be
what,
so
Whitty?
electric. By the way, I really wish, we were talking about how it's a kind of a disappointing slate tomorrow for
Yeah.
football. I really wish I could come and be like, oh, well, everybody's got to watch the UFC.
Yeah.
I'm kind of protesting. I'm going to watch it, but I'm a little bit protesting. It's a fraudulent event.
There is one fight that I'm looking forward to, and one fighter I'm looking forward to seeing, and it's
Oliveira Chandler's the fight.
Yep.
And then the fighter is
Jones. Like, I want to
Okay,
see
yeah,
John.
yeah.
You know, but it's like there's not that much.
you know who John
excitement about
Jones
the
is
fight.
at least, right?
Yeah, I believe he's like considered to be the greatest fighter of all time, or one of them.
I would say he is.
He's
I would
goated.
say he is.
Yeah.
His
I only-
only loss was via DQ, where he was just elbowing the guy in the face repeatedly, and now they've since made those elbows legal. And so,
Yeah, I know the only reason I really know that is because I think it was Trump and Rogan were talking about it on his podcast when I listened to it. I believe
I believe that.
they were talking about John Jones.
I mean, he was so good. He's defended his belt like 15 times, and he was on cocaine and all kinds of other. Like, he would literally not even train for half of his fights. It was crazy, but.
Oh well, how about this? I know we're about to wrap up here at Alumni Hall, guys, but Tyson Paul. I mean, who wins? I mean, I know it's crazy. It's happening tonight, but a lot of people are going to be watching it. What happens?
I think it's scripted. Paul wins by decision.
I'm seeing. I think there's a handshake agreement of like
Yeah.
let's
No
just,
knockouts?
I think I could see if there's going to be a knockout. I think it's going to be Paul late. Like I think Tyson.
I think it'll be like a stoppage almost. Like I don't think he's going to
Yeah.
sleep him, but he's just not able to defend himself, and they call it kind of deal.
Jake Paul had a weird stoppage against Ben Askren, where like Askren got up and like answered the count, and they were just like, oh no. Like I could see something like that. But I think Tyson for the first 2.5 rounds is gonna look solid.
He's
like
gonna give us
like
a reason to be like, no
yeah,
way.
like he's gonna throw some combos. He's gonna be moving around. Like people be like, you know what? He's got enough in the tank. He could do it. And then he's just gonna fade. And then I think by about round 5 or 6, Paul will probably be able to kind of just win the war of attrition and just. It'll be ugly though. It's gonna be ugly. It's not gonna be because I mean even Jake Paul, he's typically been doing his fights at like 185, 181. They're fighting at heavyweight, like 230. So, like, Jake Paul put on a bunch of weight for this. I don't think he's going to look that great simply because I can't imagine his cardio is going to be great after gaining 50 pounds.
Well, I think what you guys said is probably going to happen. What I hope, it's not going to. What I hope would happen, I just want to see Tyson knock him out. That'd be really cool.
I mean, that would be one of those moments that, like, the internet all comes together to celebrate.
Yeah.
At the very least, I want to see Tyson hit him hard enough to where it hurts him and you can tell.
Yeah.
Like whether he starts bleeding or he stumbles or just has that look in his eye where he's like,
he's done,
What the hell have I done?
Yeah.
I think we can get one of those moments.
Yeah,
I think
so.
Paul's going to win and potentially even by knockout. But I do think we will get maybe at least 1 or 2 of those moments where, he hit him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or maybe Tyson bites his ear off.
He's hurt.
He's hurt.
Yeah. I'm just hoping for something that's iconic and legendary. And
I would
named.
settle for Mike Tyson DQ loss where he just like does something crazy.
I was
going to
say I might put some money on that
boy.
because you want to talk about the script and how all this stuff is kind of, I could see Tyson doing something weird like that and getting.
So I know we're about to wrap up, but I got to ask. To me, Mike Tyson is the most intimidating person, like sports figure of my lifetime.
Dude,
and I don't know if it's close.
Even these videos of him lately as a 60-year-old man, when he's
scares
talking,
me to
it
death.
is horrifying.
There's something about the way, I think not only just what he's done, but the eyes. Like the eyes and it's like, dude, I don't know if you're all there inside. Like you're kind of on edge.
I mean, he's definitely not all
He's not, yeah.
Don't step on his toes.
Yeah.
Because you will get the taste slapped
Which,
out
by
of
the
your
way,
mouth.
that's fair. Tyson wasn't wearing shoes, and he stepped on his toe with shoes. I'm like, that hurts.
Yeah.
I'd be pissed, too.
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely the most intimidating person.
Hey, by the way, shout out Heartbroken Hog who said, Ellis, if John Jones played football, what position would he play? Well, his brother is one of the best defensive ends of all time, Chandler Jones. Now, John's not quite as big. I think he weighed in at like 238 today. I could see him being a really good tight end.
Yeah.
He's got the length.
Isn't that funny? I just assume that every time somebody asks, like, what's position would this player play, and that's in a different position, it's always tight end. Like that's but it makes sense. I get it, but it's just funny how it's
D end where you don't really you just need to be like a big, fast, athletic guy.
Nobody ever says, he'd make a really great cornerback.
Yeah.
Nobody ever says that.
Left guard?
Yeah, deep snapper. Like I think you can really get that going. Yeah,
kicker.
Something like that. Well, fellas, this has been awesome. It's been a lot of fun being back out here at Alumni Hall. Been a lot of heavy traffic coming in here, getting people get ready for the weekend. Arkansas and Texas. And, folks, not only is it for football, but for basketball season, too, they got it all. They got polo shirts, quarter zips. They got Johnny O, Peter Millar. I almost got mixed up and said Johnny Millar. That wouldn't make sense. But they got it all. They still got the Hawaiian shirts in here. Some of you are, like, mad. That,
clinging on to
they're like, you guys made us sell out of it. Well, they got plenty of Hawaiian shirts over there. So you can check it out for the men, for the women, for the kids, everything here. It's Alumni Hall. It's the ultimate shopping experience for Razorback fans. Shop them here in store, 3417 North College Avenue. Also, check them out online at alumnihall.com/Arkansas-Razorbacks. So, really appreciate everybody watching in. So, for Andrew Ellis and Curtis Wilkerson, I'm John Neighbors. Same sports show, same sports channel. Next Monday, have a great rest of your night, everybody. We'll see you for Pod of That Nature postgame tomorrow following Arkansas and Texas.